Tell me one thing. Have you ever heard of Christian rate of growth or Muslim rate of growth and any other religious identity associated with the growth? But how can a country with a 5,000-year-old civilization be defined by 2% GDP growth rate? Yet for decades, India was labeled with a term that many never questioned: Hindu rate of growth. And now Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called it out publicly, saying this phrase maligned an entire civilization and was born out of colonial slave mentality. Today, let's decode the politics, the economics, and the mindsets behind this term. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. This is the story of a phrase that shaped India's economic identity for almost 40 years. Even though it never truly represented who we are, let's break it down. The term came in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Economists used it to describe India's very slow GDP growth, around 2 to 3% annually, compared to the rapidly rising East Asian economies. But here's the problem. Instead of calling it India's growth rate, Nehruvian growth rate, or license Raj slowdown, they attached a religious identity to it: Hindu. This implied the slow progress was somehow tied to civilization or culture, not policies. Who gave this term? The term Hindu rate of growth was coined by the Indian economist Raj Krishna in 1978 to describe India's slow GDP rate growth from the 1950s to 1980s, attributing it to restrictive socialist policies and license Raj. Raj Krishna was a professor in Delhi School of Economics. At the Hindustan Times Leadership Summit, PM Modi said, "The term insulted an entire civilization. It was pushed by so-called intellectuals with a colonial mindset. It conditioned India to think small, expect less, and accept mediocrity." He said India must shed this mentality within the next decade. Was India really slow back then? Yes. Between the 1950s and 80s, India struggled with the license Raj, heavy state control, low productivity, low investment, limited global integration. Growth generally hovered at 2 to 3%, but it had nothing to do with the Hinduism. It had everything to do with the economic structure. Here's something rarely discussed. Raj Krishna, who introduced the phrase Hindu rate of growth, was part of the Indian Planning Commission between 1977 and 1979. If the economy was underperforming, wasn't the Planning Commission responsible? Then why was the blame framed in civilizational or religious terms? India is no longer the India of 1980s. Today, India is growing at 7 to 8%. Inflation remains stable. The country has become the fastest growing major economy, and the growth coming from every direction: manufacturing, defense, blue economy, space sector, startup ecosystem, smaller cities and rural India, digital infrastructure. India is now a global growth engine, not a slow economy defined by outdated labels. But here's the bottom line: words shapes mindset, and mindsets shape nations. PM Modi isn't just rejecting a phrase, he's rejecting a way of thinking. For decades, India was told, "You are slow, you are bureaucratic, you are incapable of high growth." Today, the message is: don't accept low expectations, don't think small, don't let someone else define who you are. And honestly, whether you agree with Modi or not, this mindset shift is real. So the real question is not whether the term was economic or culture. The question is who gets to define India, external intellectuals or the nation itself. India's growth story is still unfolding, but one thing is clear: the India of 2% growth is gone. A new India is writing its own narrative.